We look at the linearity of consciousness in people and bodies. Kryon talks about soul splitting and multi-dimensional aspect of the soul all the time. So look, when we're in touch with loved ones on the other side of the veil, in whatever way, we're not in touch with their linear past selves. We're in touch with their soul parts. You got that? Soul parts are forever. They never change. They're the core consciousness of all of our lives, and they're in there forever. Did you know that you are not actually all here? Part of you is still on the other side as a soul part. And we call it the higher self. It's forever. It's the same higher self every single lifetime. So the soul contains all of your lives at once, and even the future ones. How about that one? It's not linear, and this is where all spiritual communication comes from. So, even if your loved one has reincarnated and is back on the planet, the soul is still there. The lives they lived were still there as a living consciousness within that soul. So, Kelly, have peace in the knowledge that you can always know that they're there to contact. It's a hard one to explain, isn't it?
Well, I love that you mentioned peace. I loved that we have been talking about the masters. So let's use those two themes to anchor in our meditation as we welcome in Kryon. And I invite you to close your eyes, deepen your breathing, and think about all of the masters that have been on our planet. There have been so many come in physical form to show us the potential that exists within all of us. And each of you will have your own version of who that master healer is for you. They could be alive on the planet now, or they could be someone that has been on the planet, had an end-of-life experience, and is now communicating at a soul level. Whatever that master is to you, let us ask to receive an eternal peace to help us in our understanding of the bigger picture. To bring us peace when things happen and we don't know the reason why something has happened. So that when we face a situation where we look at that situation and ask, why did this happen? Let us use that as the invitation for the energy of peace to descend upon us from the masters. Allow the energy of peace to descend upon you. You are receiving that from the masters. And as that bubble of peace wraps around you, let us invite the wisdom of the words from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. A bubble of peace. How appropriate that this was brought up. This is indeed another installment of the series of 4, which we call things which are hiding in plain sight. If you take a look at the human being, the way you are right today, it's the way you were before, and before that. It's the way the ancients were. That hasn't changed much. What has changed is consciousness. Your ability perhaps to understand and develop belief systems that involve very complex ideas that are beyond that which is 3D. You have no problems with a beautiful, loving God that can hear a billion prayers all at once. That's not linear. You don't even ask, how can God do it? What if that reality which you consider is God actually spills into that which is the human being's soul, and then spills into that which is the design of the multidimensional parts of a human being? Dear ones, your cellular structure, your DNA, has multidimensional pieces and parts. If you don't believe that, ask this: what does a quantum biologist study? They study the multidimensional parts of the human being, the quantum parts, they would say. Quantum is a word that we would use, perhaps improperly to a physicist, that says it is a multidimensional part. If that is true, that means that you also have within you the ability to be nonlinear. Kryon, what are you talking about? All this science. One of the things that's hiding in plain sight is your soul. Now, we have never really said that before. We've talked about some of the other things hiding in plain sight before, but not this one. This is new. That is why the Circle of 12 was conceived. It's a new concept that you can identify and walk into that which is your soul part. That soul part of you is miraculous. That soul part of you is also part of the creative source itself. So when you're there, dear ones, it is an amazing experience, because anything is possible. This is where you can meet and work with your past lives. When you walk into that which is your soul energy, you've seen it on the Circle of 12, right here, over and over. There is no limitation to what you might be able to do. You think about these things. What is it that perhaps you could do if you could walk into that which is the soul of yourself? Who could you meet? I want you to take a look for a moment and remember what the Circle of 12 has given you in the aspects of who has been in the theater and what has taken place in that theater. These are all metaphors of what you can do for yourself if you could meet your soul. Now, there are so many who would tell you at this moment, don't pay any attention to that silly stuff. You can't do that. They'll tell you that the soul is completely and totally removed from you. It's on the other side of the veil, and the mechanism of the soul is simply that which is up to God, and that you yourself have nothing to do with it while you're here. Now I ask you, does that really make sense? Would you have designed it that way? Now, I continually say these things about spiritual logic. How would you have designed yourself in pure compassion and love from the other side of the veil? And we've said this before. Would you have designed a system that removes you from God? That's what so many teach even today. A system which has you groveling in the dirt, climbing ladders in order to, that's a metaphor, steps or ladders in order to gain that which God would give you, of looking down so you don't have to look in the face of God because you're not worthy. Does that sound familiar? Would you have designed it that way? Does a parent design that for their kids? And the answer is no. Compassion and love have to win. Light is winning. So get into some spiritual logic and understand that these things start to make sense. Your soul is spectacular in every single way. It is the core spirituality. I would say spiritually, it is the core source of you and the Creator's connection. It's the core source of you and the Creator's connection. Connecting with God. Is it possible that you can look into the face of the Creator? And the answer is yes, because when you do, you look at your own face. You are part of everything. The soul is eternal. It never started and it never will end, just like the Creator. There is no difference. Imagine God always had souls within it, ready to do what you're doing. That means you are part of the creative source. And for the first time, we tell you, you can touch the face of God. You have permission. It's always been there. But now in this new energy, it's doable. Hiding in plain sight is the ability for you to cross that bridge that we do every day. You can meet the masters of the past and ask them questions. You can meet yourself. Welcome, members, to Healing Wednesdays and the Circle of 12. I'm Lee Carroll.
And I'm Monica Morani.
Well, this is Healing Wednesday. Again, yet every single Wednesday, we're here. Every Wednesday of the year, we come to you with special guests, questions and answers, discussions, meditations, and, of course, channeling. I'll say it again, just don't let the streaming disappoint you or bother you if it doesn't work. And it may work tomorrow, it may work sometime, it doesn't work today. That's just the way internet works. Stop and watch the replay in about an hour after the show. It's a perfect recording. We do this for the members, just in case this doesn't work in a live.
Now, obviously, if you are watching this program, you are a member, and part of your membership comes with having a portal. In your portal is where you're going to find a whole lot of goodies. Every replay of every show we have done is in your portal. And some of you are in areas where you can't watch the video because the internet strength won't allow it. So we've got you covered. We've got an audio only of every single show, which means in those areas you can listen to the audio and still get all the benefits of being part of the Healing Wednesday program. There is also an index. Why is there an index? Well, the index is there to help you navigate and find your favourite episode, and if you're new, it helps you to look at the past programs and gives you information so you can decide which one you want to go to. Then we have done, Lee and I, a special question and answer 90-minute program solely on question and answers that we didn't get to in all our other Healing Wednesdays shows. So that means that program never got broadcast.
Now, you know, we've been saying that now for many, many weeks as though it were new. We know that it isn't new, but it is for those who have just heard it. And so that is why we repeat a lot of these kinds of things. We want those who have just coming on, and there always are, folks. We have lots of new members, and they are just discovering our program and coming on and discovering the index and all that. So all the shows here that are in this index, we feature them forever. As long as you're a member, you can see them. There's never a limit. We're not going to cut them off at a certain point, no matter how many we do. So I encourage you to have a new look at these great features that come with your portal. Sometimes that they're new, but it's all in your portal.
Now, the other thing in your portal is the ability to submit a question to Lee and I, and very easy. It says, submit a question. That's a bit of a giveaway. The guidelines for submitting a question is to ask questions that others may be interested in, no personal questions that require such a therapy answer because we aren't therapists, and make those questions concise and short. And one last place you can go to submit a question is cryonmasters.com/questions. And I love how these questions that we answer, and mostly Lee does the answering, they really stimulate new ideas and new thoughts and new interpretations, new ways of understanding subjects. So we're going to take a question that is one of two because they were very similar questions on one topic. So I will now share that first one of two questions. Lee's going to answer it, and then we'll go to the second question in that topic. It comes from Ellie. Ellie is in Colorado in the US, and Ellie's saying, how do I know if I have pure intent? I feel I do, yet the response I receive does not seem to indicate that I do have pure intent. For example, cells in my body grow younger as you divide and multiply. I repeat that each day, saying it out loud. I see and feel nothing that would indicate that this is happening. So, Lee, what's going on?
Well, I'm going to give you a simple and quick answer to this one, Ellie. Here it is. You ready? You have no idea what it would be like if you had not said these things. Now, this is something most people don't ever think about. Take a look around you. Are some of your friends aging more than you are? Perhaps even most of them. Many times the proof of how we are doing is not within ourselves to judge. They are a comparison to what is happening in the outside world. I had the same question to you. Probably I asked myself that for a couple of years. If you're working with healing yourself or feeling better, you can tell if it's working. But for youthing, your example tonight, you have no idea what hasn't happened. I hope this gives all of you another perspective of how to see the results of some of your pure intent that you're giving, especially in that which you're saying to yourselves every single day. And Ellie, I just want to let you know, there's absolutely no question that your intent is pure. So let's get to the second similar question.
So Mary from Massachusetts in the US is saying that her question is about pure intent. She asks, how do you give one? If I understand correctly, Kryon has talked that one must cognize an idea for the idea to become a belief and be experienced as a reality. But to cognize an idea, a person has to believe in it. And how can you blindly believe in something if you have not experienced it to work? I think that blind faith is so dangerous. On blind faith, people can be so easily manipulated. How do you cognize then the spiritual reality?
Well, Mary, nobody's going to trick you. And that's exactly how I felt. I'm with you. Blind faith is really dangerous. I don't want to really keep going backwards here and giving my experiences to you yet again. Both Kryon and I have given my experience blow by blow, but I'm going to do it again for this reason. I was so wary back then, 32 years ago or more, so wary of anything metaphysical, and was convinced that all of it was a cult. Are you ready for that? This is me talking. This is your channeler talking. But I was given a puzzle I couldn't explain. And it brought me to a place where I said, okay, it's stupid, it's dumb, but I'm going to give it a try. One try. I said to Kryon or whoever was listening, Spirit, show me. If you give me one example, I'll give you one chance. Then I sat down in the chair and I waited, not really expecting anything. I said, show me. Now first, had I given pure intent? Now think about this. Yes, I gave a good, meaningful, purposeful intent to find out. I was serious. I was serious with my intent to find out. So at that moment, my pure intent wasn't that I believed in Kryon or in healing or that I experienced anything. It was that I was giving pure intent to know. You understand? There wasn't anything blind here at all, and my eyes were wide open because I didn't want blind faith there for whatever happened. But the purity of my heart was seen as a serious intent to discover something, even if it wasn't in my immediate reality. What happened next was that I was overwhelmed with love. I didn't expect that. And I wept. I couldn't hold it back. Something was going on. I received an answer that I didn't expect, but one that an engineer at that time needed, me, in order to show there was indeed something there. It took another 3 years to cognize that Kryon was real, or to cognize that healing was real. But my original cognizing of my pure intent was about commitment to know the truth or not. I had pure intent for that. So to address your question directly, you don't have to cognize that you will get a healing. How could you? You never had one to know what it was like, just exactly what you said in your question. Spirit asks us to cognize the reality of our intent. Do you mean it or not? Are you okay with an answer of any kind? Is there a healing for you? Will you believe it if it starts? These are the baby steps to a much larger kind of pure intent. Later, after you experienced a few results, whether it be feeling better or abundance clearing or perhaps some very unusual synchronicities in your life, you start graduating to a much more mature kind of pure intent. At that point, you've been shown it works. So, I went through all of these steps as a very skeptical person, and I absolutely refused anything to do with blind faith. In fact, I was wary of it. Everything I believe and teach today was shown to me slowly as I went from pure intent to asking to pure intent of knowing that it worked.
I love that differentiation that Lee just mentioned, the pure intent of asking to the pure intent of knowing. And back to those of you who say, yes, I have pure intent, I'm asking, nothing is happening. Well, we're showing you the tools of how to use consciousness. But take a look at the amazing variety of guests we have on the show that are healers. They also have tools, because it's not just one tool will fix everything. It's a combination of, for instance, knowing what kind of foods to eat for your particular body, knowing what types of exercise we have to do, knowing all the different tools create a total approach for your health and longevity. Things like blood tests will show you, is the work in your blood changing? So there's so many different barometers of ways we can test for ourselves, and there's so many different tools we can access to gain that health. So pure intent was so beautifully explained by Lee, and again, it's just one of the many tools of consciousness that works in integration with other things. And it's inspiring me for something we'll do for the meditation. But before we do that, I would like to get to another question. And this comes from Kathy.
Welcome members to Healing Wednesdays and the Circle of 12. I'm Lee Carroll.
And I'm Monica Morani.
Well, here we are again. Every Wednesday of the year, we come to you with special guests, questions and answers, discussions, meditation, and channeling. You know, there are replays for you in case there are some internet issues. We say this all the time, but watch the replay of this program in about an hour after the show. It's perfect, video and audio.
Now, I have a question for you. Well, for those few of you who've tuned into the actual beginning part of our show, because I know what goes on. You're fast forwarding or you're too busy in the chat. But anyway, my question is, when's the last time that you looked in your membership portal? Did you know there's special things in there which you have requested? For instance, did you watch the program last month with Dr. Robert Young? Well, many of you enjoyed the special music that was in that Circle of 12 episode, and you can now find that in your portal. There's also a fully documented index of each show, and that's to help you navigate to your favourite program or to have a look at what Kryon said in each channel or what took place in the Circle of 12, or even what were the questions asked during that episode. Now, I want to know I don't want to know. I want to let you know. And the reason I'm getting excited and all my ties and tongues tangled is because we've got a secret unfolding, and the secret is we're working on a brand new portal, and it should be ready in a couple of weeks. The idea, of course, is to make it streamlined and to contain new features, all of which is to enhance your experience. We've also added something extra as a direct inspiration from those of you who are requesting healing energy for either yourself or others, and it's called Miracle Moments. But I'll tell you about that later in the program.
So for all the new members, and there are always oncoming new members, just want to let you know all the Healing Wednesday programs feature replays forever, as long as you're a member. We never limit these, and there's never a cutoff point for them. You can always access them. So I encourage you to have a new look at these great features that come with our membership, and it's all in your portal.
Now, the other thing in your portal is a way to submit your question. It's so easy. Just click on the link for submit your questions, or you can go to cryonmasters.com/questions. Guidelines are very simple. Ask a question others may be interested in. No personal questions. We're not therapists. We just share what Kryon has given us and make those questions concise and short. Okay, so let's take a question. This question comes from Jick. Jick is in California and he's asking, what exactly is ascension? It seems that it means different things to different people.
Well, it really does, and thanks for the question. Although I've answered this partially before, I always love to do it again. Really, I do. It's because it's such a great concept as Kryon describes it. It may be surprising if you haven't heard this before. I think most of us have heard the story of a biblical character who ascended. And maybe there's actually several of those, but the one that I'm talking about is a very physical and literal ascension into the sky. And Kryon has discussed it now in several channelings through the years. Now, this first part of my discussion in answer to your question is not the exact one that you would ask for, but it's part of the subject of ascension, so it's applicable. The reason this biblical story I spoke of is important in Kryon's teaching is that Kryon wanted people to notice something about the Old Testament story of the prophet Elijah. When Elijah ascended in Scripture, it tells this. He had an understudy watching and observing named Elisha. And it was reported by Elisha that Elijah turned into light. You ready? While he was on the ground. And then after that, he ascended into the sky. Elijah was one of the few individuals on the planet who knew when he was going to ascend. And so then he asked Elisha to write it down. Kryon wanted us to notice that within this story and this report, Elijah turned into his soul self while he was on the planet, on the ground. After that, he ascended or went up into the sky. In other words, while he was here on earth, before his actual ascension, he had the attributes of light, an angelic attribute. He didn't need to ascend to have this angelic being inside him. It was always inside him. After this transformation was complete, where he stood, then he left the planet. I love this, since it tells us who we really are, and it echoes Kryon's teaching. Now, I'll tell you this, since the template belief that most of us have of ascension is that we must die and then we ascend. Most religious doctrines will point to these stories, some of these stories in Scripture that describe ascension as clearly requiring death. So now I'm going to give you Kryon's definition of ascension, and it may surprise you. Here it is. Ascension is going to the other side of the veil and having mastery while you're still alive here on the earth. I'm going to repeat that. Say what? Ascension is going to the other side of the veil and having mastery while you are alive and still here. Actually, we all got to see this. And it was written about this very thing in references and activities of many masters on the planet who were very human, and yet they did things seemingly only angels were allowed to do. Here's the premise. Ready? God is in us. And as we slowly change the energy of the planet, we peel away the human attributes of anger, fear, war, sorrow. And then we get closer to the core of who we are, which will reveal attributes of mastery, love, compassion, kindness, caring. Slowly, this changes into attributes to heal others and creates an earth that is not like you have ever imagined. We've actually ascended to a higher level, all of us, while still here on earth, living long and healthy lives. Does this sound fantastic? Well, you can even see it a very slow consciousness change right now, right here on the earth, if you've noticed. My grandfather's world was one of continuous war. where nobody seemed to be able to stop any of it. No one. It just happened over and over. Today, there is a fight going on, even as I speak to you, regarding what this planet really wants and what it will accept. I believe that someday we will see Earth as an ascended planet while we are all still here.
That is such a comforting thought, Lee, and I believe that as well, that we are headed towards an ascended planet, and what you are doing now is contributing to that. So hold on to that beautiful hope, because I believe 100% with all my heart and soul that it is not only possible, it's happening. I want to now take two similar questions. They may not seem similar when I read them out, but certainly when Lee gives the answer, I'm sure he's going to tie them together in a beautiful way, because he always does that. This first question of the two similar ones is Cosetta. Cosetta is from Torino in Italy, and she is asking, how can we better deal with the 95% unconscious thoughts which create our reality? I send love, but I often feel scared. And then we have Sonia from Oklahoma in the US, and Sonia is asking, how can we move through the misinformation we were taught as children about evil, the devil, or burning in hell for any infraction? It is so ingrained in many, and people are terrified to pass on.
Well, you're right, it is ingrained. Sonia and Cassetta, you are reading my mind, or what I often like to speak. I was one of those who felt this way, just like both of you. One of the things you hear from me all the time, perhaps too often, is that you can't have a loving God that then tortures you for eternity if you don't follow some rules or specific doctrines that, to me, obviously men have created. It's with you. It's here. You can't do anything about it. So I'm with you all the way in what you're asking. Many of us grew up with this, however, as our truth. The great thing is that many of our guests on the Healing Wednesday programs, this one that you're actually seeing right now, they specialize in this very issue. The answer that they will give you is to rewrite these beginning programs. Now, did you notice I said programs? Because these ideas, these ones that fester and that you're taught and that frighten you and scare you, are like a program in a computer. These are programs that are written into your brains as children, just as you said. You know that. But it's there. You can't erase it. You can't do anything about it, but you can do something about it now. Now we know we can rewrite it to a grander, more benevolent truth. A better truth than you can even realize. It can be so well rewritten that someday you will laugh at these programs and feelings that you felt before you they were spiritual mythology, instead of having them affect you as they do now and make you afraid. Honest. I've had it. I've experienced it. Others do it all the time. So how? How do you rewrite these ingrained programs and ideas? This is the beauty of this Healing Wednesday program series. All right. I have several dates with several Healing Wednesday guests and episodes to refer to right now. And they're all within your membership portal. This is for all of you, not just the two who ask this. This is the reason this all exists for you. It's a library. And the reason that we never take down past programs from this library, they remain for reference for you to review and to learn from. Here are just a few guests who spoke exactly on this issue. I'm going to put these on the screen for you all to see. Now, you don't have to remember them, don't have to write them down. All you have to do is pause the replay of this show on this frame, and you'll see it. And write it down if you wish to then. I'm going to give you 7 program dates and guests to examine. I'll list these in the general order they were given. Now, if I go quickly, they're on the screen for you to look at.